Your body reacts before your mind explains. A tone shifts. A face tightens. A room grows quiet. And something in you contracts. You don't think first. You feel. Your chest tightens. Your jaw sets. Your stomach drops. Then the explanation arrives. We tend to believe memory is narrative, a story, an image, a sequence of events. But emotional memory does not require story. It requires imprint. Your nervous system encodes patterns long before you can describe them, long before you have language for them. As a child, you did not analyze tension. You adapted to it. You did not narrate rejection. You felt its temperature. The body learned which tones meant danger, which silences meant withdrawal, which expressions meant shame. That learning did not become a sentence. It became a reflex, a shift in posture, a change in breathing, a readiness to defend or disappear. Narrative memory lives in language. Emotional memory lives in sensation. Sensation is faster than language. When something resembles an old emotional imprint, your body reacts before your mind identifies why. This is why reactions often confuse you. You say, "I don't know why that bothered me," or "that was an overreaction." But the reaction was not random. It was remembered. Not remembered as a scene, remembered as a state, tension, vulnerability, threat. The body stores unresolved experiences as patterns of activation. When the present resembles the past, activation returns, and it returns instantly. Your heart rate shifts before you interpret. Your muscles brace before you think. Explanation is slower. The mind tries to catch up. It searches for a reason. It builds a story to justify the feeling. This person disrespected me. That situation was unfair. Sometimes that story is accurate. Sometimes it is assembled after the fact. The order matters. First, the body reacts. Then, the mind explains. We often believe it happens in reverse. But emotional memory does not wait for narrative permission. It scans for similarity. It detects tone, posture, rhythm. And when something matches, it activates the old state. This is why you can intellectually trust someone and still feel guarded. Why you can logically know you are safe and still feel anxious. The body is responding to pattern, not argument. Narrative memory explains what happened. Emotional memory predicts what might happen. Prediction is faster than explanation, and faster systems dominate slower ones. So when you react before you understand, it is not irrational. It is conditioned. The body remembered, and the mind is still writing the story. Reaction is faster than reflection. Always. You don't decide to tense. You tense. You don't consciously choose to withdraw. You feel the pull first. Then you justify it. The nervous system operates on pattern recognition. It does not wait for full analysis. It scans for resemblance, tone, facial expression, timing, energy. If something feels familiar to a past threat, activation begins. And activation is immediate. Heart rate shifts, breathing changes, muscles brace. Before a single sentence forms, explanation belongs to the cognitive system. And cognition is slower. It assembles context, searches for logic, constructs narrative. But by the time the narrative appears, the body is already mobilized. This creates a common illusion. You believe the story caused the reaction, when in reality, the reaction invited the story. The order is reversed. Emotional activation creates urgency. Urgency demands meaning. Meaning arrives as explanation. The mind builds a reason that fits the state, not necessarily the full reality. If you feel sudden irritation, your mind scans for something irritating. If you feel sudden insecurity, your mind searches for evidence of rejection. The body sets the tone. The mind harmonizes with it. This is why arguments escalate quickly. Two nervous systems reacting faster than two minds can regulate. Each person explaining after activation has already begun. Each believing their explanation came first. Reaction outruns understanding because it was designed to. Survival favors speed. Analysis requires time. Time is a luxury in perceived threat. Even when there is no real danger, the body responds to resemblance. Resemblance is enough. You may say, "I know this isn't a big deal," and still feel your body prepare for impact. Because knowing is cognitive, preparation is physiological. The body does not wait for permission from thought. It acts on prediction. Prediction built from past imprint. When reaction outruns explanation, it is not weakness. It is conditioning moving at its natural speed. Understanding arrives later, and often feels like it came first. If this perspective resonates, like the video. Subscribe if you want more. No pressure, just awareness. When the body reacts first, it feels certain. Certainty is convincing. Your chest tightens, your voice sharpens, your thoughts narrow. And in that state, the interpretation feels obvious. This is disrespect. This isn't safe. They're pulling away. The reaction feels like evidence. But emotional memory does not report truth. It reports resemblance. Resemblance to past pain. Resemblance to past threat. Resemblance to past vulnerability. The body does not evaluate context with precision. It evaluates pattern similarity. Similarity is enough to activate certainty. And once activation begins, perception narrows. You look for confirming details. You filter out neutral information. The state shapes the story. Emotional memory creates a felt sense of familiarity. Familiarity feels accurate. But accuracy and familiarity are not the same. A tone that resembles an old wound can feel like the wound itself, even when the present is different. This is why overreactions feel justified in the moment. Your body is responding to something real, but it may not be responding to something current. It may be responding to something historical. When emotional memory activates, it compresses time. Past and present merge. The current situation carries the emotional weight of older experiences. And because the feeling is intense, it feels true. Intensity creates conviction. But conviction does not guarantee accuracy. The mind then builds a narrative around the activated state. The narrative protects coherence. It explains why the reaction makes sense. And once the story is built, it reinforces the state. Reaction strengthens narrative. Narrative strengthens reaction. This loop makes emotional memory feel like objective reality, but it is filtered through past imprint, through older predictions. Misreading emotional memory as truth keeps the pattern intact, because if the feeling is absolute truth, there is nothing to question. But if the feeling is remembered activation, There is space. Space between what is happening now and what was learned before. Recognizing that difference does not erase the reaction, but it loosens its authority. The body may remember, but remembrance is not always reality, and certainty born from activation is not the same as clarity born from observation. If the body remembers first, then integration cannot begin with explanation. It begins with experience. You cannot argue your nervous system into calm. You cannot lecture a reflex into dissolving. Reflexes change through repetition. When activation rises and you remain present. When tension appears and you do not immediately escape. When vulnerability surfaces and you do not armor over it. The body records something new. It records that survival did not require the old reaction. That intensity did not equal danger. That discomfort did not end in collapse. This is how emotional memory updates, not through insight alone, through corrective experience. At first, the activation still comes. Your chest tightens, your thoughts narrow, but you stay. You breathe. You do not immediately obey the reflex. Each time this happens, prediction weakens. The body learns that resemblance is not repetition, that similarity does not guarantee outcome. Narrative memory can understand in a moment. Emotional memory requires many moments, many exposures, many non-catastrophic endings. That slowness can feel frustrating, but slowness is stability, because what was learned over years will not unlearn in a single insight. Integration is quiet. You notice reactions shorten. Certainty softens. The gap between feeling and action widens. The body still remembers, but it remembers differently. It remembers that it survived without overreacting, that it endured without withdrawing, that it remained without collapsing. This is not suppression. It is recalibration. Emotional memory and narrative memory begin to align. The story matches the state. When that alignment happens, stability returns, not because the past disappeared, but because it no longer dictates prediction. The body still reacts, but it does not dominate. Understanding explained what happened. Experience reshaped how it lives inside you, and that reshaping is what makes reaction slower, more flexible, more accurate to the present. If this helped you see the difference between what your body remembers and what your mind explains, consider liking the video and subscribing. Not for certainty, for observation.